I do want to go ahead and move on to our last topic, which is Tulsi is actually outpolling Amy Klobuchar and Tom Steyer and would be Yang. I think this poll actually, let me pull it back up. But I think that poll actually did include Andrew Yang too. But yeah, she's outpolling them nationally, but for some reason could not get on the debate stage with, of course, zero to no explanation. And in fact, uh, I believe Tulsi is actually outpolling Klobuchar in South Carolina too, if I'm not mistaken. So right now, this poll has Bernie at 30%. Good God, and this is the Economist, by the way, Economist YouGov. Bernie at 30%, Biden at 20%, which is crazy. Warren at 16%. She can't even get 15% of state anyway. Bloomberg at 11%. Buttigieg at 9%. Gabbard at 4%. Klobuchar at 4%. Steyer at 1%. So Klobuchar, according to this poll, and Steyer dropped. Buttigieg dropped by 2 to within the margin of error with Tulsi. Bloomberg has stayed at the same. Warren has stayed the same. Biden has increased by 1. Sanders increased by 5. Now, this poll was just dropped yesterday. So, you once again have to ask. I mean, listen, y'all, I'm pretty good at predicting some things. I don't know how the hell Tulsi keeps hitting her fundraising goals on top of actually climbing in polls in respective states. Like South Carolina, she's actually climbed in South Carolina. In other Midwestern states, she's climbed. I heard there's a California poll that had her jump up, and she's getting no. I don't know, man. I say I want her to participate in these debates, but she might actually be getting some help by not participating in the debates. Kind of like it would help if people covered her legitimately, like just cover the things that she's doing, but they don't even do that. You gotta wonder, man, how well would she be doing right now if she was even treated remotely fairly? Whichever one of y'all want to go.
So, Rob, you can go ahead, bro.
Go ahead. I can't hear Marcellus, but go ahead.
Oh, you can't hear Marcellus? That's weird. You should be able
No.
to hear him. I can hear him. Say something, Marcellus.
Yo, can you hear me now, brother?
You still can't hear him?
No.
That's weird. You should be able to hear him. I don't know what the hell that is. Robbie, gotta get that together, bro. It's okay though. I'll tell you what he says. I'll summarize it by the time we get over to you.
All right,
But
want
go
me to
ahead,
go then?
Marcellus. Yeah.
All right. Well, when it comes to Tulsi, man, I'm not even surprised. I don't even if you want to be honest with you, man. Like, and what's the most shocking is how good she's doing without that coverage, like you said. You know what I mean? Like I mean, she's really got some love. If they were really showing her the love, if they're really giving her her roses, man, they're terrified about it. I don't know where she would be, to be honest with you. She'd probably be ahead of Sanders. Like I said, like I like to use myself as like a barometer for the energy, of the country. Because
Yeah.
like I said, I'm just a regular kind of dumbass, if you want, in my opinion. But like I said, my energy for Sanders isn't, it's and there's nothing wrong with having the same message. It's just it's delivered this exact same way. It's exactly the same, if that makes sense. And Tulsi actually, she has her, she's bringing what Sanders brings to the table, plus the foreign policy aspect to it. You know what I mean? She's bringing so much more to the table. Also, being a woman of color, like it's just there's more to that ticket to me that I find that I like, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just interesting. Like I said, it makes sense to why they're trying to, why the establishment's is like they're more scared of her than Bernie, it seems to me, right? That's why.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah. So
They've gone, I mean, they've overtly, so Robbie, just in case you didn't hear him, Marcel said basically it seems like the establishment is more fearful of Tulsi than Bernie, because with Bernie, there was an element where um, they couldn't even stop him from getting traction, right?
yeah.
I mean, the coverage, it doesn't really favor him all that well. They didn't say his name all that much, right? Unless it was to smear him. So I can't say that they're not scared of him. Uh, Now they're more. Is he more of a threat to normalcy than Tulsi is right now? Absolutely, because he's winning, right? He has the movement, he has the money, and he has the backing. Now, does that mean that he's a bigger threat to the establishment, or he was initially perceived as a bigger threat to the establishment? No. If you want to say all things being equal, if you had to put Bernie and Tulsi in the room right now and make the establishment pick who they would rather have as president, they would say Bernie in a heartbeat. Because there's no guarantee, first of all, that Bernie is going to completely remove himself from foreign policy orthodoxy. Like, I mean, completely. Like, I don't mean that you say one thing and then pass a military, you have a bunch of F-35s in your backyard, things like that. I mean, like, completely change the orthodoxy. I would be interested to see if he did that. I don't know if he's going to. I think he'll be better. But that's not the same thing as completely revolutionizing it. Now, with Tulsi, you're completely shifting the orthodoxy there. There is no return to normalcy on the domestic front or the foreign policy front. And if you participate in war crimes, if you participate in violating our Constitution in any way, form, or fashion, you will be held accountable. There is no question about that. So not only are you losing your money, your money train, but you're also in danger of being held accountable for the actions that you committed. And I think that is why Tulsi presents a bigger threat and was perceived as a bigger threat. So they went out of their way to silence her. And when she started gaining traction, they went out of their way to dismantle her. I've never seen so many people go out of the way to smear a candidate who's quote unquote only at 2%. Now, granted, her demolishing Kamala helped out. And I do believe that she had a lot of traction from that. So they went out of their way, because it wasn't just Kamala. It was Tim Ryan, and then Kamala, and Buttigieg had his go at her. And so, like, she was gaining traction off of these interactions. And as much as we want to pretend like people pay attention in their early rounds, people didn't really start paying attention until the week of Iowa and the week of New Hampshire. But that was when they really clamped down on their bullshit, 100%. They just was like, no, we're not going to give you a CNN town hall. We're not even going to tell you why. We're going to let people who literally have not even joined the race until New Hampshire have a town hall, but we're not going to give you one. And there are people who are literally in the town halls of Iowa and New Hampshire that dropped out, or didn't participate in the state. That's insane to me. And that the only explanation for the treatment of Tulsi by the mainstream is that she's a threat, and she's one of the biggest threats, if not the biggest threat that they've seen, because she was one of them, so to speak, was being propped up and said, to hell with it, I don't want it anymore. Rob, what's your take, bro?
Oh, look, I'm gonna echo that sentiment. I'm gonna see you and I'm gonna raise you one. Look, they straight up, they're scared. Okay, because here's the thing. Look, Bernie Sanders' politics, they like to paint as radical, but only in a fiscal sense. When it comes to, people are always, the number one thing people always bring up with Bernie Sanders is money, right? Money, money, money. And it's a complicated thing. Like, you want to say that he's threatening to the establishment, and in a sense he is, especially with his policies. It would change the way they do business. But then again, on the flip side, he's shown in the past, unfortunately, a lot of Bernie supporters might not like to hear me say this, but I'm here to keep it real. So, that's just what I'm going to do. Look, in the past, Bernie Sanders has 100% shown that when the chips are down, he will play ball with the establishment. Look, he did it. He buckled and he went behind even after the DNC rigged him out of the nomination. He stood back behind Hillary Clinton. A lot of people didn't like that. I didn't like that. A lot of people try to excuse it, and you can make the argument. It's fine. Just whatever. It's chess, not checkers. Whatever the fuck you want to say. But then with Russiagate and impeachment, like time and time again, he falls in line with the big narratives, the big picture stuff that the establishment pushes down our throats on a daily basis. The one person that didn't jump behind any of that was Tulsi Gabbard. And it's a very dangerous thing to have Tulsi Gabbard on that debate stage when we've already established earlier in the podcast that this is just a giant ratings grab. They want to get as many eyeballs on their network as possible, not necessarily eyeballs on the candidates. The one thing they don't want is Tulsi Gabbard going on their network, standing up in front of potentially millions of people that are watching and saying that the U.S. is imperializing the Middle East and that we need to get out of all these regime change wars.
Or that we're the one who paid terrorists to do the things that they're doing, or pay people to give money to terrorists to do the things that they're doing.
the establishment doesn't want people to know that we're out here doing these things, or they just like to make it seem like, I mean, yeah, everybody kind of knows that we're doing it, but we're just not going to like, make a big deal out of it. Let's forget about all of the countries that the CIA interferes in their elections worldwide every single year. But let's focus on the Russia shit.
Hey, real quick, I do got to give a shout out to Bertie for calling that shit out. I do got to give a shout out to him for calling that shit out during the debates. Because he was like, how about we tell the truth and admit that U.S. has been interfering in a lot of these damn countries? I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
He's seeing the light. He is seeing
Absolutely.
the light.
I mean, we're the ones that installed Boris Yeltsin before Vladimir Putin took power over there. Like, they literally just got their power back from us when Putin got elected.
And that actually explains so much. That explains why they hate Putin so much.
There's a bunch of buried articles from the late 90s about how the CIA had operatives in Russia that put Boris Yeltsin in power after the fall of the USSR and tried to get, basically Yeltsin was their dude to try to get that quote unquote democracy that, that we like to build democracy everywhere. And Boris Yeltsin was part of that in Russia. It didn't work out, obviously. Well, I mean, I'm getting a little off point here. Problem is that when Tulsi Gabbard gets up on the television and says these things and says, hey, I mean, because look, foreign policy is shoved down the United States citizens' throat every single day. Everybody, when you turn on the news, the first thing they're going to show you is a war zone, more than likely. And they need you to know that the U.S. is on the right side of all of these conflicts. And as soon as a prominent politician tells you that that's not the case, it throws a wrench in all of their works. Now, we know that Bernie is going to, you don't know if Bernie's always going to do that. I mean, he's had his moments
especially
where he's
if that politician is a veteran,
right
and she's on the Foreign Affairs Committee, and she's been there as a congresswoman and as a veteran. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard to argue with that. And she's on the Armed Services Committee.
Look, I think she is the most dangerous candidate, and my hope is that going forward, she doesn't lose sight of how important she is to the movement and to especially the anti-war movement. Because, if things don't work out this time, you're right. I've never seen in my life. I mean, we watched, better or worse, we watched Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders both get smeared to hell in 2016. And I thought that was the most biased media coverage I've ever seen. What we've seen this time is media erasure. Like, they have totally erased Tulsi Gabbard from the race with no provocation, no discussion, no nothing. They just said they've treated her like she doesn't even exist. And I've never even, I didn't, fuck balance, right? Like, they're not even pretending anymore.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, it may very well lead to the end of the mainstream fourth estate as we know it, because, I mean, we've predicted it here plenty of times, and we've even begun to see it, right? We said the moment that Bernie becomes a nominee, you will see the mainstream media and the Democratic establishment begin to try and say, well, hey, everybody, maybe. I know that we've been saying Trump is the worst thing since the Keeping Up with the Kardashian show. But so let's hear me out. Maybe Bernie is actually the worst, right? Like, and it's going to be the end of them, because you've already, like, there's a whole half of the country now, right, that doesn't buy into anything MSNBC and NBC says. Specifically, like, they didn't like them before, but if they had a reason to like them before that, how they treated Trump, and then even some people for how they treated Bernie, they don't watch them at all. But what you're going to end up having, because now the whole world is watching, right? It's a little bit different than 2016. A lot of people start paying attention to the general, and then close to the middle towards the end of the primary, because they're trying to figure out who's going to win it. You try to pull that shit on Bernie when he has a mandate, when he will likely have the mandate that we have never seen, like something beyond FDR. You try to pull that shit, that's it. You're done. They're it. And we're going to be right here waiting for y'all. Come, my children. We are here for you. We will educate you. Come be part of the movement, because they're going to lead you astray. And we right here, baby. We right here. But it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. And I think that independent media is going to come out on top. But then we're going to have a whole different set of problems on our hands that we've already started to see happen. So that's why it's important that you don't only watch independent media. You got to watch the right type of independent media. Now, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank Marcellus for coming on. We'll definitely have Marcellus on much more often. You'll be seeing a lot more Marcellus. Robbie, as always, it is an absolute pleasure. Make sure that you go check out Robbie's Rockfin page and his YouTube page and his Twitter. The Twitter is listed if you're watching the video at the bottom. And then if you are looking for Marcellus's, same thing, Black Sheep Theory on YouTube. And his Twitter is listed below too, Black BLA. Except for on Twitter, it's BLAC Sheep Theory, not BLACK, because Marcellus out here embarrassing us by not being able to spell black. It's okay though. It's cool. We ain't gonna hold it against him. Nah. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you go follow everybody and always remember, find your balance. Until next podcast, people. Peace.
Appreciate it.